Well, hi there, everybody. It's great to be with you tonight. You know, people have been asking me about the election. A couple of days have passed, and I thought I might as well check in with all of you and just give you a sense of how I'm feeling and what's happening. I'll tell you what's on my mind tonight and what I think, you know, you ought to consider. And that is how, well, how sort of fishy this whole thing feels. If you think it feels fishy, if you have a sense that something isn't quite right, um, your instincts are pretty good. Because think about this: the president did a remarkable job in this election. Uh, the Trump movement did something virtually unprecedented. Uh, we were supposed to face a resounding defeat. All the polls said there was no way that Trump could win. In fact, the Republican Party benefited tremendously from Trumpism, if you want to call it that, in this election. Republicans have held the Senate seats that were thought to be lost in several states were retained and other seats were picked up. So, and that's an important firewall. And Republicans have held control of the Senate, and they picked up seats in the House in double digits. Double digits. Okay. Some people think we may have picked up as many as 18 seats in the House. This is amazing. On top of that, Republicans who already controlled the vast majority of state legislatures in the country, and this is important in a census year when the congressional districts will be redrawn by those state legislatures. We already controlled the majority of those state legislatures, okay? And now we picked up more state legislatures. And the president bested his 2016 vote numbers by more than 4 million votes. Some people say it's going to be 5 million votes, that he bested his 2016 numbers. So why aren't the numbers adding up in the states, particularly the states that are still outstanding in the Electoral College? Well, it doesn't make any sense, does it? That Republicans could be doing so good, that we had such a good night, and yet the president is not winning these states. I mean, consider this. The president made record inroads with groups that Republicans don't usually win. He had the highest percentage of votes for any Republican in 60 years. In 60 years with Blacks, Hispanics where he done remarkably well, Blacks where he picked up votes, Asian Americans, other minority groups, even Native Americans. He did better than any Republican candidate in 60 years, okay? He doubled his support among gay people, a group that you would never consider. It was a foregone conclusion. You're not going to pick up votes. Trump's going to pick up votes among gay people. Yeah, he doubled his votes among that group, okay? He maintained high support among all his regular groups that he always has had supporting him, including white men and white women, okay? He maintained that support. He won Florida, which has correctly picked the president of the United States in every election in the last 6 elections. He won the state of Florida, which is key. He won the important bellwether state of Ohio, okay, which no Republican president has been elected without carrying Ohio. He won that critical bellwether state. And he even won the Buskin Bakery cookie poll, okay? The cookie poll and the seal of cookies at the Buskin Bakery, which now you're saying, Dan, why are you mentioning that? Because that has predicted the last 8 presidential elections. Now, he did all that, and yet you're telling me he hasn't won this election? After all the things I just told you, you're telling me he hasn't won this election? It doesn't make sense. I smell a rat. There's something wrong here. This stinks, okay? This doesn't add up. And we need to know what's really going on. Now, the Democrats and the progressives, I never liked that term progressive because they're not progressing. They're taking us back to the dark ages with some of the things that they want to do. We're going to live like a nation of hoodlums, like a nation of animals. We're going to be, God knows what the hell is going to be happening if we listen to them. But any event, they're in the streets. They're saying, count every vote, count every vote. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. We have laws and justice and a legal system in this country. We have to count every legitimate vote. We have to count every legal vote. We have to count every constitutional vote. You don't count every vote just because somebody voted. It could be somebody who's not a legal resident of the state. It could be a vote that was put in someone's name, but the vote was actually cast by a person who's not that name. It could be the vote of a person who isn't even alive. It could be the vote of someone who got 2 ballots, one from one state and one from another, and voted in both those places. These are not legal votes. So beware these people who are in the street singing and chanting, count every vote, count every vote. No, 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 no. This is America. We're supposed to follow the law. We have laws and we have a constitution. We count every legal vote, every legitimate vote, every proper vote, every constitutional vote. Okay? This situation could have been foreseen by anybody who saw that the Democrats used the COVID crisis to create mass mail-in voting, where they sent out tens of millions of ballots. In some cases, sent them out to people who no longer lived in the state, people who no longer lived at that address, people who were deceased, sent them out to the wrong people. Tens of millions of ballots, in many cases unsolicited. And there was no system in place to handle a nationwide vote of this type. We had no system in place. And quite frankly, we did not have the time to put a system in place. So it should have never been permitted with the crisis we were in and so forth, and all the other things that were going on. There was no reason why enough voting places couldn't have been set up. They could have been set up properly. And the amount of time to vote could have been extended. It could have been extended over several days. And additional people could have been brought in, and a system could have been set up that people could have voted that way, even if they had to wait in line. Of course, people who had to vote by absentee ballot, who were infirm, who couldn't get out to vote for all these other reasons, just as we've always permitted, could have voted by absentee ballot. I mean, people wait. I see people waiting in line, to get to go and shop, which they're shopping like crazy. The economy's doing great. And they're willingly wait in pretty long lines to go shop. They could have waited in line. Okay. And over a period of days, the line wouldn't have been so long, and would have voted in the traditional manner using voting machines or whatever it was in that state. We had no system in place for this. The Democrats knew it. They insisted upon putting this system in place so they can carry out their shenanigans. There's a simple rule. I've been in politics all my life, okay? The longer that you let the counting go on, and the more the ballots are moved around, and the more hands touch those ballots, the greater the chance of something bad happening, of corruption, of fraud, of miscounting, or even if it's just mistakes. But it's a prescription for trouble. It's a prescription.